Hey, all back again. DJ Nubis, the Meltdown Radio podcast, doing another review for you. This time it's called "They Live in the Gray" 2022. Just saw this last night on Shutter. Apparently, it's a Shutter original. Basically, in this, you have the Abel and Burley Vang brothers who directed this, and it stars Michelle Krusiek, Ken Kirby, and Madeline Grace. And it's about basically Claire, while investigating a child abuse case, discovers that the family is being tormented by a supernatural entity. And like I said with the review with Antlers, they both are kind of dealing with like the possible cases of child abuse is sort of like the subplot to the other issues that are going on. And Claire, played by Michelle Krusiek, is the social worker who we find out it's, in fact, the opening scene to this movie is what grabbed me. Like I had actually started watching it a couple of nights ago, but it was getting late. But when I saw, like, I'm laying in bed, I'm kind of like starting to fall asleep in that first opening scene. Like, I think I'm going to like this. So I had to stop it, go to bed, and come back to it because the opening scene I thought was really well done. Creepy, of course, but I like just unexpected for me right off the bat. So, anyhow, she's a social worker that has basically was married and just lost her kid in an accident, in which we'll get. I won't even reveal that because I think that's one of those things that people need to find out down the road what's going on with that. But she lost a child. Sorry, man, my mouth is like massively dry. So she lost a child, but she's still a social worker and she helps people. And one of the first scenes we see, though, she starts, I think ever since the death of her son, she starts to have doubts about the job that she does because she's in the courtroom. A woman's about to lose her kid. The judge is like, you're not to see your kid because, like, there's apparently some issues with the mother. But Claire, who's actually the one fighting for the court, to make sure she doesn't get the kids, is all of a sudden having second thoughts and like, look, she tells the judge, if you take away the kids, it might drive her further down the spiral. But then, like, the scene later, her manager, boss of her company, the social workers, gets the call from the judge. He's like, look, don't ever question a judge's judgment again in a courtroom. And really, the thing was, she wasn't really doing that. She was just probably just looking for some leniency on that factor. But, it kind of gets washed over because the judge probably has an ego. So then she's handed another case. And this is the parents of Audrey, who is played by Madeline Grace, and Ellen Rowe and Arthur Bernard Bowen. This family, it's a mother, father, and daughter. So she pays a visit to the family. They're getting ready to sit down, but it's very awkward because there's a lot of tension. In fact, we have a scene where the mother, right before Claire arrives, is at the sink, and she's just kind of like in Spaceland. She's kind of she starts looking at her ring and then starts looking at the garbage disposal. So the first thing I'm thinking, she's going to jam her hand in there and turn it on. That's the first thing I'm fucking thinking. We've seen it, but that's what I was thinking. But it didn't happen. So Claire's interviewing them while they're eating, and standard question and answer stuff. And then Claire kind of asked where Audrey got the marks on her face, and everyone says skateboarding accident. She fell off her skateboard, and so then Claire asks the parents to leave so she can talk to Audrey alone. And Claire plays this little game that she used to play with her son, where she would make a statement about three things, and one of them was a lie. So she said, well, if you can figure out which one I'm lying to, I want you to do the same. I want you to name three things, and then I'll find out what the lie is. So they do that little game, and eventually Claire kind of breaks through. But the minute Claire, like, figures, the minute that Audrey says, okay, well, this is what happened to my face, the glass of water in front of her slides over right in front of both of them. And then Claire has, like, which is basically a vision almost, a sorts. She starts seeing things, and actually starts seeing a woman next to, I forget what you call them. It's an old um, it's an old wheel that they would create weave with. I don't remember what the name of the device was, but it's an old wooden one that had the wheel, and you would use your feet to create your clothing and whatnot. And it was this woman sitting there and very creepy looking. And the interesting thing about this is we start to learn that Claire has a sixth sense. She can see dead people, and it happens a lot in her life, her personal life. Like right now, her and her husband are separated and not divorced, but they're just separated. And he keeps trying to connect with her, but she keeps being standoffish because she hasn't really told him that these things happen. So there's that personal trouble there. She's having a really hard time getting over her son's death. She's constantly grieving. Between that and the apparitions that visit her, she ends up staying in this attic space like Harry Potter almost. So anyway, she starts trying to help the family get rid of the entity that's like just throwing shit. There's a moment where, and I kind of said this, it never gets brought up too much, but I was saying it while the movie was happening, that something happened where the husband had an affair on the wife, and she wasn't able to let it go. Like there's this tension, and there's these arguments that break out in front of the kid. And I've always, for movies we've seen and whatnot, we always hear about how negativity feeds entities or ghosts or apparitions, poltergeists. It's the kind of shit that gives them energy with the negative forces. And so there's this argument that breaks out at the table a little bit there while they're there, and as the mother's getting ready to do something with her hand, it gets stopped, and you can see like the hand just kind of creaking, like like a ghost thing was going back, and her hand's back, and then all of a sudden the steak knife on the table spinning. And then it just like it slams her hand down right on top of the knife, and nobody really wants to talk about it. I mean, obviously the husband's like, "You gotta go to the hospital, get this looked at." And so Claire, through all this, is still trying to get the family to keep the girl because she knows that there's something going on with the spirit in there. I don't want to give a lot away here because there are some twists and turns. And that's part of the, like, when this movie was first going on, even up to that point, I'm like, this is like your standard stuff, I mean? And overall, the movie, it still has stuff that you're like, okay, I saw that coming or whatever. But in the end, like, the twists and turns are what kept me engaged. And so, like, I enjoyed this a little bit more than Antlers, just in terms of there's a lot more creepy effects. And the storyline is just a little stronger for me than it was for the other one. I don't know. I felt much better with this, except for maybe the ending. The ending was a little weird. Just the very end was very weird just for itself. But I kind of expected this is what was going to happen with the character of Claire. But there are enough twists and turns in here and surprises to keep you engaged, to like the film. As far as like rating it, I'd give it like a 7 or 8. Probably a little more 7, just because, like I said, this follows a lot of the tropes from the movie The Sixth Sense. I see dead people, but she doesn't actually say that. But it kind of has that effect. Like the whole time throughout the movie, I'm like, this is exactly what Sixth Sense was doing. The only difference is it's an adult instead of a kid. But the acting's well done, and I forget. I should say Sophie is the kid. I messed up the name. Audrey is the mother. Sorry for that. Sophie is the kid played by Madeline Gray. So Sophie's the one that's been getting abused. Audrey, the woman, Ellen Rowe, I guess that's her real name. I thought it was something else, but very good actress. Like, I really enjoyed her job in this, and even Michelle Krusiek, the lead, like was very good as well. Especially the emotion about the kid and everything was very touching and on point. And that's really like the best thing about this film is just the acting, top to bottom, was very good. Everybody was very believable in the roles. Antlers to me kind of just there were some things that were missing here and there, but for a very good 7 or 8 out of 10 movie, I think this is very worthy of your time. It's on Shudder, as I said, and not going to give too much more away because there's a lot of craziness that goes on and very cool ending with the twists and turns. So check it out. They Live in the Gray 2022.